Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy, welcoming you back to Star Trek Adventures: Broken Sword. We are ready to start our third episode, A Shadow Over the Lands. Um, so as we get into part one here, we are adding a new player who will be introduced in character later. But you can say hello if you like, Cheesy.
Hello.
Yes, a new voice to get used to for those just listening here, and for those watching, well, you'll see more with them soon enough. Until then, we are going to get into today's log, which regrettably our helmsman was out ill for today, but wanted this to be heard anyway. So I'm going to go ahead, read it off for them, and give you my best attempt at one Mr. Azek Korg. So without further ado, if I can, there it is. Captain's log, first day of Sujin, year of Kalis 875. Repairs have been completed and the Yan is back in space. We have set course for, back to Glie'dan II. Even at warp, it's still a day out or so, even with my best navigational tricks. Oh, computer, remind me to switch the log from captain's log to helmsman's log. Uh, but our fine ship owner and captain for the time being, Tabak, has requested to fly casually so as not to draw too much unwanted attention. As is, I've navigated around several Imperial patrol routes, and the few clever tricks I've managed to obscure our warp trail. The ship appears to be holding up for the most part. A panel or two rattles more than it has previously, but it'll be nice to offload our passengers and get some parts to make real repairs. Especially getting rid of that little Jaktala child. Ugh. My leg is sore today, but I have no doubt she will make a good warrior for the Empire. Ah. Gotcha! Captain Tabak is coming. Oh, false alarm. Oh well. Helmsman signing off. And we will pick up from there as Mr. Korg is having delusions of grandeur and settling into his post. Indeed, all of you are settling in about as comfortable as you can. It has been a few weeks since you departed Kloktikel Bracht, surviving your brief encounter with a hidden Imperial fleet, a deal with the Orions gone very bad, at least insofar as you were ambushed, and then making repairs on a previously unknown world whose primordial compounds or primordial life forms seem to have left you all in a state of hallucination. But undoubtedly, in that time, you've had at least time to get the ship in slightly more order. Not so much, let's say, to fully repair the ship. You don't feel their effects, but the ship does still have some breaches that are impacting it. Um, of greater concern, perhaps, or notice at this point, is the drain on your consumables, particularly like food and water elements, as you have still a considerable number of passengers. The Kaha that you rescued from uh, Captain Calvek's, well, this attempt to sell them off into slavery to the Orions. So there are all manner of complications that may yet ensue. Um, but you are simply making your way as best suited as possible. Um, for starters, I guess I would like to see, does anybody have a particular scene they would like right now?
I'm not sure.
Are there any more repairs that could be done along the way? I mean, do we even have the materials to do any more repairs, or did we just use up everything that we had
You
just to get back in the sky?
between your patch repair kits, the measly uh, inventory that Calvec permitted you, and Kressik's own contribution, you have
My
used.
parts?
Yeah, your
Yes,
part.
yes. The parts that you had have largely been used up at this point. At least anything that would be useful for your remaining repairs. Um,
All right.
so it's a lot more smaller maintenance work, and there's probably a bit more of it than you usually like to do. Um, however,
Mhm.
it's undoubtedly, Captain, you could spend time tidying up the ship if you wished.
Well, if we don't have the parts for it, there's no point. So one thing I would want to do is take a look at the stasis pods that our passengers were kept in. Um, I don't know, busy work. Break them down into components that might be more useful. Maybe keep one just in case for an emergency medical thing.
I understand. Well, that being the case, I think that we could afford to give you a bit of a theater of the mind time as you work down on one of the cargo bays. Uh, I believe we had established last time that, and Kresic, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we removed the remaining passengers who were in stable pods.
The ones who were stable, we were keeping in the pod so as not to drain our resources. Now, that being said, I don't know what the Kusha did while they were under the influence of the mind spores.
Hmm. They did not make an attempt to break into those pods. They simply left them pretty much to stay in, and they were more oriented towards battle at that particular time. So I can tell you that if you left them in the if you left them in the pod previously, then they should still be they would not have been removed during the events of the climactic section, let's say.
Then, yeah, they would still be unopened.
All right.
No, yeah, the ones that are unoccupied, you know, those are the ones obviously that I'd be tearing apart. I also thought that maybe I could figure out by looking at the tech who made it. One of my hold on a moment, let me look it up real quick on my character sheet. One of my foci is xenotechnology.
Okay.
I might be able to take a look at the machinery itself if I can tell what's Klingon manufacture. Maybe
Yeah,
I know or can figure out who made these things if it's not us.
certainly, certainly. I'd be prepared to let you make a roll in order to figure that out if you so wish.
Like, what would that be? Roll of.
That would be an engineering and insight roll, and I'm going to say that the difficulty on this roll would be 2. And since we are at the start of a new adventure, the momentum pool has been removed for the time being. You
Uh,
can, of
we
course,
all have,
uh, I have also taken I have taken a new slate of threat now as well.
and we all get our determination point back. Correct.
That is correct.
All right. So I'm rolling 2 dice, but my focus kicks in.
Yep. So with that, you will have an expanded critical success range on your roll.
Well, let's see what the digital dice gods have to say to me today. Ooh.
That is 3 successes there.
Apparently, I'm in tune with them today. They're
Well,
going to be nice.
so with that roll, Tabak, first I will award you the appropriate momentum. would anyone like to hold the momentum today?
I'll hold it.
All
I'm good.
right. I will hand it over to you then. So that'll give you 1 excess. Um, but yeah, from from what you can assess, this was probably one of the few things Calvec actually seem to have spent considerable resource on, as uh, they are highly functional, highly dependable pods. Obviously, they could still sustain some damage, but they're a fairly resilient set. It's not a technology that you would expect to see in the Empire, definitely, or like not with the amount of care given to these, as it does seem to value survivability of the occupants in such a sense. You might even guess that it's entirely possible that these probably changed hands a few times, despite their near mint condition status. But you wouldn't be surprised if it actually originated somewhere from in Federation space, or one of the independent systems that that is likely to affiliate with them at this time.
So definitely not our tech. Okay.
Certainly, it certainly doesn't seem to match most Klingon tech.
Does it have 3 sets of redundant backup systems?
It has at least 2 there.
Okay, well then that's more than likely Federation then.
Yeah, it's also plausible that there are other powers outside both the Empire and the Federation that this might have applied to. For example, the Orions maintain some degree of independence, which it would kind of make sense if there was something going on there.
And the
There,
Federation right now is like what, 7 or 8 different species, and that's about it.
oh, dozens and dozens at this point. They have such that you would know they are actually very close to the borders of the Empire now. There's probably some slight bits of news you would have picked up, even if it's not a primary concern of yours. But it would suggest that in terms of space in the Beta Quadrant, they are in a number of sectors kind of bumping up against the Imperial borders. It was in one of those sectors around Arcanus that the Klingons and Federation fought the first skirmishes, or rather, where the former Chancellor had initiated what became the 4 Years' War. Um, Something, of course, that Raldar could tell you about in greater detail.
More than likely.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, suffice to say, they're best known for having that mix of Vulcans, Andorians, Tellarites, and humans. This time, Rigel is probably a part. Rigel's definitely a part of them. So
They
a
were one of
few.
the founding worlds, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is. I mean, we are in terms of meta, we are only about, or we're less than a decade to the events of Discovery, and slightly further out, like that whole chain of Discovery, Strange New Worlds, TOS. So a lot of species that would be pretty much species that would be available in the TOS era would count towards or would be in the Federation at this point. There are probably a handful of exceptions, but that's um, something that
But
may come up here.
but because I probably only know about 10 of them, that's pretty much all I think is actually in the damn thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right.
But yeah,
All
there
right.
are other smaller independent powers too, and they could
I mean,
operate. Yeah.
the Orions are just, the Orions, and Romulans are still out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Gorn are out there, but it doesn't look like Gorn tech. All
No,
the re all the are all the readouts? Do they all just come up as Klingon?
They are. It seems that Kalvik had them converted to a standard Klingon coding.
All right. How about all of the parts and pieces? Are the what is stamped on, like, what's on this isolinear chip? I mean, is it, actually
Uh,
at this point it's not isolinear, it's duotronic, or at least that's what the Federation has.
you are right. Duotronics are the prevailing tech of the day, and um, I would say that it's much more likely to be that grade of technology. It seems as though it may this you wonder actually now at this point whether this was lawfully gained, as a lot of identifying markers that you would typically expect seem to have been for one way or in one way or another removed. It'd be the equivalent of like sanding down a registry number of some sort.
Or scraping off the serial numbers, but sometimes the individual parts will have labels to identify them, so that when
Exactly.
you do repairs, you can look at it and identify what the part is, so you know what to replace it with. And the labeling could be done in an alphabet, could be done numerically, could be done symbolically.
Um,
Are all the parts that are like that? Do they follow the normal Klingon standard of symbology and all the rest of that?
uh, they don't match Klingon symbology precisely. They seem to be, or the parts individually seem to more indicate that they were from outside the Empire.
But I can't tell from where. I mean,
Not precisely. You find yourself not exactly the most precise. You find yourself as not the most cultured of individuals right at this moment, but you can
that's
all
okay.
yes.
I will take pictures of all of the parts. And does the symbology use? Does it appear to be consistent, or do I have a Franken machine?
It is consistent at least.
Okay, so I will take pictures of all of the identifying marks and keep a note of that, because that could be important.
All right. Well, you uh, you set about logging those, and I'm sure breaking down other parts. There are some components that might make for redundant pieces that could be used for, say, life support or other smaller systems, maybe a little bit with environmental control. And of course, you could keep one or two as a backup for sickbay if it ever comes to that situation. The pods should be
Yeah.
able to comfortably accommodate most of the current passengers and some of the crew. The Gorn would be very difficult to place in here, and Woe is just about nigh impossible.
Would it be for later? Do I think it would be possible to bash a couple of them together to make them big enough to hold the Gorn and or Woe?
Uh,
I
it,
mean, for
it
if I needed to.
it'd be a project, but it's not impossible.
Okay, because everybody needs a hobby.
Yep.
All right.
Says
Well, then that's
says the
good.
captain.
Yeah, says the captain, when he's not too busy, you know, writing out holy texts, or not too busy fixing the ship, or not too busy studying treatises on Klinza.
Um, Anyway, let's see what everyone else is up to, and if nobody else has a particular scene at the moment, then I might ask. Well, I'll let me check first. Anyone? Would anyone right now want to be in the mess hall right now?
Sure,
Okay.
I
Let me.
can do that.
All right. I'll go ahead and move you there, Raldar. So as you were eating, taking a justifiable bit of time off from what has undoubtedly been a long number of shifts making sure that the ship continues to function. You would find that the mess hall itself is a relatively empty. It's relatively empty, although a couple of the kohach that you had encountered previously seem to be dining about the place. It's good probably that you came in a bit later in some ways because you know that the Klingons generally, at least the farmers from Glie'dan II, generally take their meals together, or they as much as they can, so the place can get very stuffed. However, there's a bit less food afterwards, and well, they don't seem to have abducted any particularly good cooks, so that problem persists for you.
I see.
You know, it's still canned gach and the bargain barrel blood wine.
Good enough. Good enough.
Mm-hmm. So, as you grab your meal, would you be I guess the question would be, are you making this a working meal? Are you looking over something as you do this? Or would you just generally be trying to make this as would you be trying to make this an easier night?
It's probably a working meal
Okay.
of our half-flying ship.
Fair enough, fair enough. And the ship very certainly needs everyone to have at least half attention at this point. Um, as you say that, the the older Klingon, very slightly older Klingon woman, someone you've come to know as Kalsa, she actually she glances over at what you're looking at with the pad. I am, yeah, I'm a little curious, if you don't mind there, Gorn. Well,
Yes.
is that something mentioning the EPS, dealing with the EPS grid aboard the ship?
It is. Mostly
Hmm.
low rates.
She'll pick up her food and a mug of whatever she's drinking. Would you mind if I had a chance to look over it? It's not a not every day that I get to look over that type of equipment.
Feel free.
And she will grab a seat next to you and start looking this over. Beat up as this ship is, it's still something of a marvel. More so that you actually have it flying.
Well, you use what you have.
Mm.
What the captain had was not very much.
She laughs a little bit at the notion of it. Um, it is commendable the work you're doing keeping that up, and I say that with a bit of an eye for these things. The irrigation technology we keep on the world is a bit antiquated at times. It's honestly it takes a fair bit of jury rigging to make sure that everything properly works at times.
Were you formally educated, or did you have, say, an apprenticeship?
More so the latter. It's even even these days, it's still even more so these days. It's difficult for Koha such as myself to go into a round of more formal education. At least when you're coming from a rural colony, when you don't serve in the Imperial fleet, and she looks around for a moment, but realizing the small audience, ever since that damned cure was introduced as well. Blasted Kohawi. Which Raldar, if you want to give it a roll here, this will unlock a little exposition. Command and reason.
Command and reason. All right.
Yes, it is a difficulty 1 roll.
All right. Give this a go.
And that's 2 successes. So that, hey, the RNGesus is smiling upon all of you. Um, but yeah, you immediately recognize the rough slang to denote the Klingons that have undergone a cure, rather the so-called cure for the Kuvat virus. It's been a point of cleavage in Klingon society for some time. There were Klingons who, back in the day, just had everyone had the standard sort of cranial ridge and considerably resilient physical features, but the details remain a bit sparse. There are some that there were some that were afflicted by some sort of plague and possess more the smooth-headed features and slightly different physiology that people like Tabak are currently afflicted with, as some would say. For
What
other,
you got there, skin?
yeah. However, at this point, there have been some strides in the effort to counteract those effects. You know that there's a vague combination of genetic manipulation and perhaps some uh, reconstructive surgery that is working in combination to create yet another group of Klingons. As just for point of differentiation, there is the Hemhook, the Klingons who have the more traditional look. For those in the audience, this would be more in the TNG style, or the run basically from the motion picture up through Enterprise. There are the Kuha, the Klingons who possess the smoother foreheads, lacking cranial ridges, and generally you would qualify them as the TOS style Klingon. The Kulhawi would be the Klingons that have undergone this procedure. They don't precisely look, they don't quite resemble the Hemkuch. They would be better described as essentially fitting more the aesthetic that shows up in Discovery and from there on. So it is it's an odd difference, but one that, I mean, you've just kind of rolled with this whole time, and it was one that during your years of Imperial service was actively discouraged in terms of paying any attention to it. That was indeed why most soldiers wore armor that included the mask and helmet of a sort. So
I see. I see.
yes, um, but yes, Kelsa, she looks and just says, "It is fascinating to see some of this, though. I won't take up much more of your time. I'm sure that between you and that rather industrious captain of yours, you have plenty to do keeping this ship active."
Look, as long as you like, it gives me a short break at the very least.
Hmm. She'll continue to eye it over for the next little bit of time, taking a seat along you. She may even have a few questions as far as how you go about or how you go about managing some of the meshing of old equipment that came with the ship and the new modifications that you have. She doesn't grasp all of it, being from, or like, not having worked with as many of the shipboard systems before, but she knows, she does demonstrate some proficiency as an engineer. And I will say she is one of the figures that, if you so wish, you could invite to your crew. But that'll be for you to decide amongst yourselves later.
Or for someone to tell me that we have a potential recruit.
Indeed. So, elsewhere on the ship, I'll just go down the line here. Uh, so, Krasik, how would you be spending these weeks? And I think we're up to the last day before you arrive at Glie'dan II.
So obviously, trying to keep the rest of the patients as healthy as possible. Spending time with my new best friend, this small child.
Of course, of course.
Basically turning her into my lab assistant
Mm-hmm.
when I can. An extra pair of hands never hurts. And then at some point in time during the trip, I sent a text-based message to Tabok. I sent that to him electronically a while back. And then I would try to get in contact with Woe. I have not seen her for a while. She's disappeared somewhere in the ship, which is hard for a creature of that size, but has managed to do so. And I would try to get her to come to sickbay.
All right. So let us at least cut down to sickbay for a start. Krasik, you're in sickbay, and the father of the small child, Gradol, has come down for his checkup. I would imagine at this point you've probably just wrapped up fairly recently. He's taking the time to speak a little with his daughter, who is over the weeks has steadily warmed up to you even more, and is talking about the great victories and successes she has had in making sure that the medical files go where they need to, and um, mending the occasional mending the occasional bruise or other minor ailments that have cropped up. Possibly a few light burns, but you at this point you're less focused on that. The comlink is yours to wield.
All right. Kresic to Woe.
This is Woe speaking. How can I help you, Kresic?
Could you come to sickbay when you have a chance?
I don't know. I don't think the last time was too good for me. I think I'd prefer to stay in my bed.
Please?
Oh, fine. I'll be right there shortly. And she hangs up.
Oh.
And, like, not even a full minute later, she breaks the door down and comes into the room.
She didn't even.
It's not like you really got a long way to go.
It's not a long way to go.
Yep,
I have no idea how big the ship is.
it's not that big.
Oh, yeah.
And the doors have probably been a repeated problem at this point. I would imagine that the either A, they could only sustain so many times where you between any damage that was done during the first battle and the successive number of times that you have come and tried to open the door just by like giving it a good front kick. There was only so many times until the doors would just buckle and give out entirely.
Yeah, I imagine every door Woe opens is just thrown to the ground.
Which on a spaceship is a bad thing, especially when you need to compartmentalize in combat.
Well, I'm giving you something to do, aren't I?
Like I don't have enough to do already?
You've been working on like the same area for like 5 days. You're fine. You can fix some doors.
Oh.
Anyways.
So
All right,
so
Crazy, come here. What's up?
you would, from the patient isolation chamber, which is also his quarters, you would just hear him say, "Come in."
There's like a wariness, and she just has to fight through it and high kicks that door down too. Why
The
not?
door was open. The door was open.
She closes it to high kick it open.
Excellent. Excellent. So he is in there, and he has his trunk of all of his meager personal belongings that he took with him. So you come in, and Kresic is unloading that stuff, his belongings, in the inside his quarters as you come in.
He is immediately intrigued and walks over and kind of stands over him to look at what he's doing.
Yeah, he's unpacking.
I mean, you know, at the stuff he has, not the fact that he's unpacking. She can tell he's unpacking.
A few, like, what appear to be plaques, awards of some sort. He has a plant that's very clearly a carnivorous plant that he keeps with him.
Feed me, Crescent.
Exactly.
He's like taunts it with their finger.
A very old set of like pre-technological revolution flasks and beakers and that kind of stuff that he keeps with him.
Yeah, you're old school. Okay. She eyeballs the plant and kind of just like plays keep away with her finger, and kind of gives him like a raised eyebrow look of, "We've been on this ship for weeks, Krizik. Why are you just unpacking now?"
This ship is full of fools who will all kill themselves if I do not stay until a suitable replacement is found.
Oh, you love us! And she goes to give him a big hug.
He just stands there.
He's the worst hugger. Okay.
As you can see, it's warm here and humid. Much better.
Yeah. I still think my quarters are better than your quarters, but yeah, all right, I'll give you that. So what's this whole calling me in here thing about?
When we were on the planet,
Yeah.
I needed data on how
Yeah, I kind of
to
noticed
stop
it.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I took scans.
You're speaking slower than
Neural
usual,
scans. And he hands you a data pad.
All right. She looks it over, but she understands nothing.
Data pad has all of your the results of all of your scans.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just looks at you and he says, "You never wanted me to take scans to study.
No, that was very clear early on. Hang on, I'll be right back.
And he waits until Woe runs off to be right back, and he waits.
At which point, in comedic interlude, Vopri will pass by the doors to sickbay. Oh no! Captain, the doors have fallen again!
What does he say that over the comm?
Yes.
Another round of cursing, creative cursing in Klingon. If that was a skill, I'd take that. And where did she? What door did she break this time?
Sickbay. You must. I cannot stay. If she finds me, then there will be problems.
I know. She'll hug you. Fine. Go. Just get back to your duty station on the bridge.
Sorry about that. I am back.
All right, we had a comedic
In
interlude there, so
time.
it worked out.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Yes.
All right.
Just imagine Woe glitching out. I guess that's all you can do with that. Okay.
Anyways, where were we at? Let me get back to that. You said you made it
you
very
never
clear.
wanted to scan
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and I made that clear. Yeah.
I
So-
needed the scans.
I'm aware of that,
fight
and
the
you saved our
disease.
tooks.
These are the only copies of the scans. Do with them what you wish.
She looks down at them. Do you need these pads?
No.
She breaks them in half.
Give me
Saw that
a daring and security with a difficulty of 1.
Oh, come on! She's so
Yeah, I'm
strong!
She is strong. That's why I'm giving you an easy task to break them.
Oh!
You're
Alright.
You're built for this.
Daring and what?
Daring and security.
Alright.
How?
Are you kidding me? No! No! Oh!
And
Fine, she just kind of.
not only did you not break it, you sprained your wrist.
Um,
No!
Do you want to? I don't care. Do you want to use a momentum to make that go away?
No, I think the fact that she can't break these goddamn data pads is super funny. So we're gonna go with it.
let me ask: Would you like to take a narrative complication, or would you prefer to give me threat?
Oh, you know I'm always gonna take narrative. Why is that even a question?
That's fair. Yeah. So you struggle with the pads. You realize that. Actually, that's a good question. Kresic, did you have your own pads, or were these some of the standard issue ones that came aboard this? Was this like something that you you took after your exile?
I do have my own, but this is a standard issue one because I figured what Will's response would be to this.
Fair enough.
And I did not want to lose one of my precious few Gorn-sized pads.
Yep.
The ones that really can't break.
Yep. So your initial attempts to break them go very poorly. There's just you can't get a good point of leverage to split them. It's like they make these things out of some kind of metal.
You can just hear her going, "Come on, break!"
Yep.
Can she throw them down and try and stomp them to death? Can that happen?
I will let you do that, and I will say that you managed to effectively crush it under your heel. As part of the complication, though, you don't pay attention to where one of your hands goes, and after being taunted mercilessly, the carnivorous plant is going to latch on and chomp at you.
Shit! What the hell?
And Let's see.
Can I backhand the plant? I'm gonna backhand that plant.
Let's see. First, you take. I'm going to say 1 point of stress for the from the plant, and then
Good lord.
roll me daring and security difficulty 1 against the plant.
Don't kill my plant.
Kresic, you can contest if you wish to.
I'm going to contest this.
All right, daring and security back.
Question. Could I do control and security to try and catch it as it's flying?
Um,
What about blocking it? What about blocking her strike against your plant?
I would say, tell you what, I will let you use fitness and security as a means to, we'll call it a reflexive response to catch it for a successful backhand
Okay.
instead of blocking.
Focus, no. I'm imagining. This is not personal combat.
It's not
It's
personal
very
combat.
personal to woe.
It's not personal combat if you're not blocking woe.
Which I am not. I am trying to stop this plant
Yeah.
from dying.
I don't think that you have. I don't think there's a talent to.
Okay. Excellent.
Oh shit.
Oh,
So it's
I
gonna hit
think-
you
I
in the
think-
face now.
I was gonna say, may I make that narrative complication that I get hit?
yes. You move down to hit it. You move down to try and catch the planter as woe knocks it away. It goes flying, hits you in the face, and for good measure, the plant will chomp at your finger as well as the
Very good.
whatever ceramic material it is made of comes down. So I'm going to call this. I'm actually going to say I think that between the ceramics and everything else, that's going to be 3 challenge dice worth of damage. So, all right, that's going to be 1. But I think that with the pieces of pottery, I'm going to assign a piercing 1 to that. So any resistance you have, this would actually get cut through and give you a point of stress.
I don't have any resistance anyways. It's all good.
Okay, so yeah. And
Oh,
then
shoot, what is that? The pieces. Sorry, go ahead.
on top of that, you have the plant chomping at you now.
God. Oh, Kresic, I am so sorry. It's just a reflex, man. It's just a Jesus. Okay. Can I move to pick the shrapnel out of his face?
You can certainly stick your claws into the disgruntled Gorn's face.
I'm gonna try.
Uh,
Just hold still, okay? Don't move.
We're gonna end up with 2 criminals with only 1 arm.
I am a medical professional. I can take these out myself.
Yeah. I think maybe that would be better. I'm just gonna go. You have a good one, Kresic. And she scurries out. I guess picks the door back up and puts it in place.
The doors are pocket doors. They are pneumatic pocket doors. You can't just knock it down. It's bigger than the hole.
I'll do what I want, okay? Mind your business.
Kalvik didn't pay for particularly good doors.
Even the basest of doors has gotta hold up against vacuum.
This is what you get when you hire Kazin you met off the street.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, Tabak, you are frustrated by how even galactic constants and best manufacturing processes seem to fall before the cosmic force of japery, especially when done at your expense.
Yeah, I'm beginning to come to this realization.
Yes. Undoubtedly, though, you will be able to seek replacements once you arrive at Glie'dan II. Which with those scans destroyed, well, I guess, whoa, did you want any other scenes before we cut ahead?
I'll wait till we've cut it ahead a little bit.
All right. Well then, the day passes with the continued steady pace of work, repair, um, pounding out divots in Tabok's case, um, when not tending to other systems, and the general slog of warping along. Um, Eventually, like after some rest and some alternating shifts, um, Korg will report from the bridge that you are arriving into orbit of Glie'dan II.
Is there a star? Is there a place to land?
Uh, he is actually, I will say that as he sends the signals, like, Captain Tabok, we're kind of getting, I guess one phrase I've heard for it is static. I don't think that the docking controller's happy with me. It's a whole mess up here.
Fine, I will be there momentarily.
All right.
Put down whatever it is I'm working on and go up to the bridge.
Okay. Who would be on the bridge right now, player-wise, or would anyone like to be on the bridge besides Tabok in terms of player characters?
Well, the Brent Hall would. No, the
Yeah. Vilpry will definitely be there.
Vopri would be there.
Yeah.
Obviously, our current character who's in lump of flesh mode is going to be there. I don't think anybody else would need to, but if they want to, yeah, come
Yeah.
on up.
Yeah. I'd say Azek probably broadcasted across the ship, so you at least got everyone at least got his half of the conversation.
I would have just
I'll be there
responded
too.
in kind. So
All right. Any of the Gorn wish to be there as well?
Where are we going? Sorry, I had to step away real quick.
That's okay.
Bridge.
Just seeing if anyone wanted to be on the bridge um, as you're on final approach to land.
I have no need to be.
All right.
why not? It'll be entertaining in a minute.
Okay, so we'll just cut up to the bridge, where you would find Vopry sitting at his at the sensor station. Undoubtedly, the nervous ball of um, just whatever he is on a regular basis. Um, he looks disconcerted with some of the shouting coming from Azek's station. Well, would you be like manning a station with any particular serious regard, or are you just lounging? How would you describe your presence?
She is manning the security console, but she's not doing it seriously. She's just there to make sure she's there for her job, basically.
Yep.
But that's about it.
Yeah. And then, of course, as you arrive on the bridge, Tabok, Cheshire has taken her usual position in the captain's chair while you are away.
And of course, I just scoop her up and put her on my shoulder.
Yep.
I'm sorry. What is the? You just said his name, and now I can't remember his name.
The Vopry, the
Vopry.
Rantel.
No, Vopry. Vopry. Are we having communications problems?
The communication system is working okay, Captain. Our problem is more the personal element.
Give me the. Okay, fine. Put the traffic controller on speaker.
Right, he shifts it up. Look, nay. Explain your presence in our space, or you'll be shot down.
I need repairs. I have some of your people on my ship. They want to go home.
What are you talking about by our people? What is the meaning of this?
You have farmers that are missing.
Oh,
Do
this
you
had,
have missing farmers, or are you
this had
stupid?
this had better not be deception. You were saying you have some of the missing farmers.
Yes. Our former captain was responsible for their disappearance. I bring them home, having killed him.
Well, that's the first spot of good news in a while. Prepare to prepare to receive landing coordinates.
Good. At least for that is out of the way.
Mm, uh,
Make
and
it quick before I dump a couple of torpedoes on your head. This is just normal banter for Klingons, you know.
I identify yourself for ship registry.
This is the Yan. I am Captain Tabak of the House of Cord.
Not one I am familiar with, but perhaps those more occupied by that rank will know something. Perhaps someone sings a song of you yet. Well, leave that for others to sort. Sending docking instructions now, and with that, the comm line will just be closed.
That's right. That's about right.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, with that, Azek looks and says, coordinates received, Captain.
Then land. Nicely this time. Don't crash us down into the ground, please. Thank you.
They gave me a landing pad this time, Captain. I think I can manage.
We gave you a whole plateau. do well.
So easy on a captain. He tried.
All right, and
He
with
tried my patience. And speaking of trying my patience, if you continue to break doors, I will be taking that out of your pay whenever I finally get around to paying you.
You can very well try.
I very well can. You want to see how fast I can turn off your heat lamps?
You want to see how fast I can slice your throat open?
oh my,
Breaking doors. Stop it.
I'll think about it.
and with that thought, and with a few bits of with a few commands at oh geez, here I go, completely losing my train of thought. With a few commands at Korg's navigational station, the Yan begins to enter the atmosphere in a what is a relatively blue-green world. There are Glie'dan II is considerable parts ocean, but it has several excellent temperate and tropical locales, which are comfortable enough for most Klingons. They are also very suitable for numerous bits of agriculture that are conducted on the world. Um, as the process goes, I would say that there is a steady roar in the atmosphere where as the ship descends, and from some distance away, it could probably be made out, very particularly in one of the fields near the servants' quarters, and that is where we are going to drop in for our next scene. Um, ahead of you, some ways, Cheesy. For character name there, you'd see Liwan looking up and catching a silhouette. Uh, think that one's a bit too old to be from the House of Crook proper.
Hopefully they're bringing in some more things for me to cook.
I can't quite tell from here, but I don't know if that's a cargo operation either, but you never know. Did Vatos bring in something on special order for the governor?
I hope so. The amount of things that I have been cooking is deplorable at best.
I'll say.
Hmm?
And as yes, exactly. The winds blow through the valley as you begin making your way up to the manor, and go ahead and give us a little description of your character.
He's wearing usually his chef garb. He spends most of his day cooking, preparing his meals. That's where he spends most of his time. So he's always has his hair in a ponytail, so that way hair doesn't get in the food. A type of apron on, and he's usually covered in some kind of food residue.
Gotcha. So this this very humanoid-looking figure makes his way up to the manor where later on some of our other characters may find themselves. But in the meantime, the Yan is able to dock relatively safely, or it is not it is not nearly as bumpy a landing as the last one that you managed to effect. So you can be somewhat thankful for something a little steadier, Tabak, and the from the bridge of the Yan that Azek will tap a few buttons on the console. Oh, we're ready to disengage engines, Captain. How's my flying now?
Much improved. We didn't
Yeah.
crash.
You know me, Cap. I aim to please.
And
Doing
sometimes
great
you
work,
aim
mate.
at hitting
Great
planet.
work.
Hey, not bad for someone necessarily left-handed, he says, gesturing over from his right, where you see the long missing place where his right arm would have been.
Fine, let's see if we can get these people home.
Mm.
Find out if we can get some parts to fix the damned ship.
Alright. Well,
I push the button on for the comm on my chair and go, all of you who want to get off on this planet, get to the lift now.
and
Kresic, we're going to need to wake up the ones still in their tubes.
Understood. On my way.
Meet me down in the cargo bay. So I leave the bridge, go down the neck, get to the elevator. Probably Kresic's waiting there for me.
Yep.
indeed, so
Push the button, go down a deck.
yes, are any of the rest of you planning on getting out just to stretch your legs in atmosphere that isn't stored somewhere in the ship?
Yeah, so
Oh,
just
absolutely. Yeah.
get this
Sorry.
poison air out of here.
Well,
Algae planet was awful.
yeah. You've since filtered out the stuff, thankfully. Any hallucinations are completely derived from what you're doing on your own time, and I'm I'm sure the captain is insistent that that is not his business so long as you can still do your work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and we'll theater of the mind some of this here, taking us to our very literal theater of the mind screen.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Vopry actually is going to hesitate before considering to walk outside. He realizes that there are just a lot more Klingons around the docking area, and he's not so happy with that. So, with your permission, Captain, he will just go back in the ship.
That's fine.
Oh no, no, no! This is not fine with Kresik.
Yeah.
As Vopri starts leaving, Kresik just moves in front of him and says, "Outside is healthy."
As you loom over, oh geez, yeah, we have to roll intimidation on this.
Okay.
Give me presence and medicine.
And medicine.
Paranormal phenomena.
Oh, you wish. One of these days we'll do a spooky season thing, and I will let you have your day in the limelight, Kresik. But until then,
Will day be the day he never uses it?
Vopry is just too intimidated to even try and contesting it. So you will gain one momentum, and he will. The way that it will process in his mind is outside is healthy. Trying to go through me is not. It's like,
And then I just lean in real close to him and say, "If they have problems with you, they'll have problems with me."
oh, 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 okay, yes, sir, doctor. I will stay outside.
And I chuckle at his discomfiture.
uh, Vopry is just going to take a few steps more out onto the wing and then just have a seat.
Doesn't that? Why is he going out on the wing? The elevator goes down out of the ship.
That's right. I was thinking of the wing hatches. My bad.
That's
Um,
okay.
he will just take a seat under the under a section of the wing and then just sit down.
This is fine as long as he's outside getting fresh air. His doctor is pleased.
But
Do we have?
he could stand to walk around more though.
He could, but I'll take small wins. Small wins are good.
Do we have a welcoming party or dock workers or something?
There are indeed some dock workers around. They all by and large appear to be other Kuha. Although there are a few other species here. Mostly, I'd say they resemble bits of the other members of the Jegpulik, the conquered peoples, as it were.
Yeah,
Um,
doesn't really surprise me.
yeah, they mostly appear. Um, I'll tell you what. Give me an insight and medicine for anyone that wishes to identify them.
Inside medicine.
Medicine. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Xenobiology
oh yeah.
as a focus.
Xenobiology would apply. Okay. And
Would no, xenotechnology would not apply to this at all.
no, it would not.
Oops! I accidentally double rolled it. That's on
Oh.
me. Sorry, my mouse button was
That's
problematic.
okay.
I got a one and a definite no.
I'll tell you what. I will at least assign I will assign momentum based on the highest single roll out of that, which would easily go to Kresik here. Um, Kresik, you do recognize offhand that while there are no Rantal among the group here, there are what appear to be a couple different variations of the Jegpulik. In particular, you would note that there are the more humanoid-looking Aaron Sen, people conquered during one of the Empire's last major successful campaigns who, by and large, they are very similar in look to the Kohach, with the exception of a sort of major sort of ridge that kind of bisects their face, and there's a distinct difference in color scheme. It tends to generally be darker through that, essentially. Um, for those in the audience, there was actually there was one such person who qualified as an Aaron Sen that we saw earlier, and I think at this point she would probably even make an appearance. Let me just very quickly assign some momentum here. Um, there is also the more exotic sorts of Jegpui here, in particular, people that you would recognize as they're referred to as the Thebans, that is with a PH, um, and they are best described as a sort of smallish mass of like massive tissue with tentacles that many of which kind of surround their main body and that they walk on as well. Some that extend out. They have eye stalks as well that have multiple eyes on them, although they're not all visible at once from when you see them, and sort of a rounded top. They're generally considered to be a very docile bunch. Um,
A very decided non-humanoid species.
yes. They are mostly committed to very light menial labor. You wouldn't be surprised if some of them were in agricultural work, although some appear to be helping with some lighter technical tasks here.
Okay, cool.
And so, as you are working amongst the group, you see one Aaron Sen woman come up and approach, and Taybach, I will ask, since you had the complication there, do you want that to be just threat given to the GM? Would you prefer to buy it off, or would you rather accept a narrative complication?
Give me a narrative, please.
Okay. Well then.
That'll be interesting.
Um, as you are setting off, the Klingons, the other Khach, the farmers that you have had as passengers these past few weeks, begin stepping out. And while there wasn't a proper welcoming committee before, the dock workers, some are taking notice and going to engage. They're going to engage with some of them to find out what's happening. They wind up going so far as some meet the Klingons with an embrace. Certainly, Gradal gets a nice big hand clasp to the sort of handshake where one clasps hands to the other's forearm, and they
forearm grab, right?
Yeah. Some of the Jegpui are briefly distracted, but they other Klingons set them back to work, and one of them sees Vopri just sitting around. It's like, "You get back to work!" It's like, oh, but I don't want to.
He's with us.
You should keep your. He looks to ponder an appropriate insult, but bearing in mind the happy occasion, he simply says, "You should
choose your next words carefully. Do not insult a member of my crew."
He kind of bares his teeth a little bit in the vague, sort of disgusted look. Ugh. You should
Low stand behind the captain and... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You should keep your crew in places where they won't cause a mess, or where they won't be quite so confusing.
He's standing there. He came out of my ship. He is not dressed as you. Your own assumptions are your own problem. Do not make them mine.
There's a very slight grumbling and irritation with the dock worker. Some of them do pay it a bit of mind as they consider, or as they draw their some draw their attention away from the Khach and more towards the mismatch of crew that you have. Uh, as all of that happens, though, a voice interrupts and says, "Yes, let us not make this let us not make it this captain's problem, and let us not give them one, not in such a joyous circumstance." The voice comes from another Kohat gentleman, one who stands has more of a firm, upright standing, and he's an older gentleman with the sort of eye patch that you would swear is more bolted into the face as opposed to held up by a strap, um, wearing a sort of fine leather shirt and a slightly receding hairline.
And you are?
I am Votos. I am the uh, I come here on behalf of uh, my master and the governor of this world.
Ah,
I received some word from from our station's traffic control that you had brought people home, missing
yes.
farmers, and
Yes. Yes, our patak of a former captain was responsible for their relocation. Let's put it at that. He is now dead. He is now dead.
well,
And now I bring them back to where they are supposed to be.
you have done us great deeds today.
To do otherwise would have been dishonorable.
Well, Captain, it is Captain, I presume now.
Yes. Now.
Congratulations on your victory. And by what name should I call you?
I am Tabak of the House of Cord.
Are you afraid of me, Tabak of the House of Cord?
Why would I be afraid of you?
Because you spoke so softly there.
Clean the garbage from your ears, fool.
His relatively stiff expression begins to evaporate as he walks close to you, and he greets you with a great smile and laugh. Ah, you are most refreshing to have around, Tabak of the House of Cord. I must say you have a most interesting coterie.
This
Or,
is my crew.
hmm,
we have seen battle together and lived to tell of it.
I should say from the look of your ship, they won. Um, as he calls out the Aaron Sen woman standing not too far off comes up. We may yet have some parts in our stores that could help this antiquated vessel. Do we not? Um, yes, yes, Votos. We may have them, and set to replacement on them as soon as possible. Whatever they need, and whatever we can supply.
You have my thanks.
And you ours. I only wish it had come a little sooner.
Sooner than.
There are some complications, but it is best not spoken of out here. Please come and
Then
join us.
take you someplace where we can speak of it.
Can I insight check him?
You may do so. I'm going to call this Command and Insight.
Excellent. And my psychoanalysis focus?
I will grant you that. And since he is maintaining his own composure here, he will contest with control and command. And he most definitely has a composure focus.
I mean, hey, it's an 8. I can succeed on this.
Oh God.
Alright, so you must beat...
I cannot succeed on this.
Oh, indeed not.
Oh
I
no.
don't think you need to even bother rolling the contested portion.
No, he already did.
Yeah, it just beat you, and I do technically, I think, take threat for the excess of successes.
Probably.
Yep. So with that,
I really need to get my psychoanalyst talent so I can start using medicine.
You're trying to psychoanalyze non-Gorn. Who even
Yes.
knows how they truly think?
The body language clues are all wrong.
Body language, pheromones, like, it's just not there.
Tone. Yeah. None of it makes sense.
Yep. Votos is thoroughly unreadable to you. In spite of your experience around Klingons, you actually find he is probably among the most disciplined of individuals that you have encountered, and that's honestly probably very different, certainly from anything you would have experienced in your time on Guo Takor and among your current crew or passengers. None of them were particularly hard to read, let's say. Um, as you were starting to make your way there, would everybody accept Votos's invitation? It would extend to the entire crew.
Oh, I'm going.
Yeah, I would have assumed everybody who came out of the ship.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even Vopri.
Everybody who came out of the ship?
Well, all of our crew who came out of the ship.
Including Vopri?
Yeah.
All right.
I will physically drag Vopri.
He's a member of our crew, damn it.
Oh.
And I will like correct anybody who has a problem with that. As long as he wants to be on our crew, he's on our crew.
Vopri is going to do the very best he can to maintain a stride between the Gorn and Kazinti, so as to best obscure him from anyone or anything that he might see him.
I just imagine us holding his hands like a toddler and swinging him back and forth.
Well, it's more of a scream whenever you sway him up.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. As all of you are preparing to head off, Kresic, you do actually find a slight tug by your leg. Or you feel a tug by like on your right leg, or on the right leg of your tunic.
Oh, he's moving right now.
Oh no. That's well,
okay, we can keep going, and he can go back in time for a second when he comes back. That's cool.
I'll say that for anyone that notices Azik, anyone who pays attention to Azik will note the very slightest of flinches, as much as an old grizzled Klingon warrior might have given one. As he has taken note that the little girl. Okay. Yeah, Kresic, as you are preparing to move, you feel a tug at your tunic, near one of your near your right leg.
I look down.
Yeah. The small Klingon girl is looking up at you.
What was her name? I'm sure over the course of the time I would have gotten her name.
for the life of me, cannot locate where I had that written down.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's just shorten it to Mira, because I'm certain it started with that, and I've forgotten the rest of it.
That works great for me. Mira.
You, are you heading, off? Are you leaving now?
Eventually.
Hmm. Well, you need, if you need any help before you go, you will tell me, won't you?
Of course. And I reach into my my little utility vest, and I pull out one of the small Klingon-sized scanners, and I just give it to her. Use this if you ever have to put someone back together.
She gives you a wide smile and nods. I will not fail.
Good.
And with that, she will answer a call from her father, and start running off that way with a good number of the Kohach. Some of the farmers are going to loiter for a little while around the ship, um, but you can tend to that later unless you wish to engage. So, otherwise, yeah, the crew is going to, or rather, Votos will take you along a path from the starport area. There's probably a few small landing platforms. They could easily enough accommodate your uh, your Raptor, a number of shuttles, probably a few of the birds of prey of the era that are capable of landing.
The D5s and the D.
Um, no, the D5s would be a bit larger. I'm thinking more of the Great House style um,
Oh, those big
M'Challa
hulking
class. Yeah,
atrocities.
the Gothic looking winged vessels, which the way that they land are set up in such a way that they're a bit more upright. So it can be an awkward fit certainly, but it's possible to land those craft. Um, Also, scale-wise, I consider them smaller than what they are officially to be because it just, uh, ornate as they are still like
They
doesn't
might be
make.
physically larger, but so much of their structure is taken up by decoration.
Yep, yeah, it's definitely a less utilitarian look to the other ships of the era.
And I'm glad it went away.
No, not yet.
I know.
But in any case, you make your way through the sort of it's a small starport, we'll say. So there are only a few landing platforms, quite a few cargo loaders. While there are some Jegpuli about, most of the working crews appear to be Kusha. Um, the colony, you would guess at this point, is mostly populated by them. Some of that probably would have come up in previous conversation with the farmers as well, but that this was a mostly Kohat colony.
Right.
So, as you make your way from the landing platforms and the sort of cargo offloading areas, uh, you eventually get to more of a trail that takes you through some very hilly lands. Every so often, it will open up into fair-sized fields. I'd say some of them are terraced, so as to best support agriculture with the variable sort of elevations that are going on here. Um, you, your timeliness was almost ideal. At least we will have those people back, but Unfortunately, they were not the first to go missing.
Good. How long ago and when? How long ago and when? How long ago and how many?
Dozens over the past month. And unfortunately, our records are a bit patchy right now, and communication about the colony is not as would be ideal, he says. But
Months. Months.
yes, raiders have struck out many a time, and they've inexplicably managed to get around our security grid.
How
It is.
closely did you look at those who maintain your security grid?
We have we have replaced many who have failed previously, although there are still core components of our work staff that we keep a regular eye on. I do not suspect any of them necessarily, but I could always be mistaken, he says. We had hoped
You may
for...
be
Please, continue, Captain Tabok.
our former captain. Took on his cargo that we have returned to you on, oh crap, what was the name of the dirtball we were on?
Quotakor?
On Wotokor. He was to
Cats.
sell them to Orion slavers.
Yeah. That miserable Patach.
If I'd had Targs on board, he would have been fed to them.
Well, I am sure we can see to it that you are properly stocked for those.
That would be most appreciated.
Yes, we do not probably have as much as you would want, depending on how much battle damage that you would need. But the engineers I have will work at what they can. We do, however, have no shortage of decent food product that could resupply your ship for a time.
That would be appreciated. A good meal would settle the stomachs of all of my crew.
Yes.
And mine.
Quite an array of stomachs you have to feed, Captain, he says, looking to the bunch of you.
Is this a problem?
Well, I think that our chef will enjoy a challenge.
Good.
Although I don't know how well the governor will receive you.
Or would the governor have qualms?
He sighs for a moment as you begin to cross through a segment of or as you begin to cross through a more densely wooded segment. The foliage has generally picked up since you've been since you've made your way through this area, and it seems that the yellowish gold trees as they begin to break through. You actually catch sight of a fair-sized Klingon manor atop a tall hill. The governor is of a slightly older sensibility, or one might say a newer one. He is Kulhawi.
Good. Please tell me he is not a follower of that fool out in the wilderness.
He's no extremist, but he is, well, he is more one that takes on the gaudy trappings and fashions of the High Council. think in another life, or if he had been a more successful warrior, then he might have wanted to find his way on Kronos one day.
What is his house?
He is not formally, I believe, of a particular house, although his line is attached to House Kruk. I believe that he may even have, well, he was on the verge of being adopted into the house, or his line. Jagren, son of Wanash.
That is your governor?
He is.
Fine, take me to him.
Can I scan him? I ask. Kresik asks.
Now? Whom? Who do you want to scan?
This governor.
He would probably kill you.
Fine.
Why do you need to scan him?
Research.
Oh God, I can just see this big impassive Gorn and a low voice rumbling. Research.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Can
Yeah.
can you do it quietly? Then I don't care.
Oh. Um, but yeah. Votos will take you up the steps and towards the manor. There are fairly ornate sigils representing the empire, representing the symbols of the empire. I'm sure some banners signifying the nature of the house, the um, and torches that are lit ablaze in spectacular fashion. This is some pretty nice accommodations. Your house might have had something like this back in the day, Tabak. I know not exactly where their fortunes of their current residents are, but this is pretty nice. This is not a bad place to have.
Do I know the name? Do I get the house that he was? What was the name? I'm sorry. The name
The
of the
name
governor
of
again?
the house which the governor's line is tied to, although it's not, he is not a formal member of the house, it seems.
He serves it, but he's not a part of it. Right.
Yes, it would be House Kruk. So, for those in the Twitch chat, I'll go ahead and give the pronunciation here, and I'll be sure to post in the Discord.
All right.
And the governor's name is again.
The governor's name is actually something that you will all see with the as I open up the sheet here for everyone to see. So you find your way as Votos guides you through a set of doors. There are some kuha that appear armed basically with batleths and a couple of basic disruptors.
Are the guys walking? Do the guys walking around with batlets? Do they actually look like they know what they're doing, or are they just sort of
They're they're
like watching dumb people walk around with a baseball bat?
they're holding it at such an attention that they're holding it in such a manner that it seems to be a fairly decent alert carry. Um, you don't know whether you don't know how tested they are in battle. The batlets themselves don't seem particularly worn, nor are they, however, especially polished. So
Mainly, I'm just trying to see if they're holding
oh, are you okay there? I seem to be.
them in a explosive. Hello?
You're getting a little quiet there, Tabak.
I didn't change a thing. All
Oh,
right.
I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I'll just speak louder then.
Here,
Um,
I am also increasing my volume.
okay. My question was basically just do they look like they know what they're doing by holding it? Because that's usually a giveaway. Looking at someone holding a weapon, whether or not how they're holding it is very suggestive as to whether or not they know what they're doing with it.
I will ask for either command and security, or command or security as a discipline, and insight to make a complete judgment there. I will set this as a
I
difficulty 2
yeah,
task.
I'm gonna do that on a command. There we go, because that's better.
Okay.
And my focus of melee combat should come in on this as well. Yes.
I would give you that.
Okay.
If
Well,
anyone else
let's see.
wants to roll on that too, then they have the option.
And the dice gods don't like me that much.
What was it? What was the attribute?
It would either be command or security would be the most appropriate.
That discipline. I'm talking about attribute.
Oh, attribute would be insight. I am so sorry.
All right.
And
Bah.
well, Roldar is a pretty good roll.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Taybok.
I had
Okay.
my problem was I had a connection issue. Apparently,
I
it
see.
has gone away.
Yep.
My
Okay.
apologies.
Well, Taybok, you look them over, and they seem competent enough to you. You honestly, this is I mean, not all Klingons are so warrior obsessed as some, and you are not necessarily you don't necessarily know what to quite look for in this case, or if there's you feel like you probably don't have full context clues. Whoa, you only really acknowledge them insofar as could these people complicate an exit later, and you at least judge that no, you can kick them aside as easily as you do the doors.
Okay.
Roldar,
These-
your time with formal military experience in the Imperial fleet does tell you that these guards seem to be competent enough. They are wielding their weapons in such a manner that you think that um, if they were called upon for an attack, then they might be able to handle themselves. And if they were caught by surprise, obviously that complicates any situation, even for the best trained warriors. But their armament and their demeanor seem like they are disciplined enough to be a problem. And your 3 successes there does earn you a momentum. So with
And then
that, go ahead.
just out of curiosity and for flavor, what style of bat'leth are these? Are these Star
These
Trek bat'leths, or are they disco Star Trek bat'leths?
these are a more classical bat'leth. So the more conventional rounded blade with the sharp prongs and the or like sharpened blades between the prongs.
Gotcha.
So
The good one.
yes, such that
Standard battler.
any bat'leth is good. These are the good ones. Although arguably no bat'leths are really that good. Just,
Well, I mean, we can argue. We know which ones are bad.
you know. In any case, you
Because just because we don't know how to use them doesn't mean they don't know how to use them.
fair enough.
You mean by we?
The
Humans.
yes, you enter the halls of this. You enter the halls of the Klingon governor's mansion and find high but very flat ceilings, standing out alternating bits of metal paneling and bricks that have been moved into place. Various ornate statues of idealized sort of Klingon warriors, some with a more conventional hemhoch aesthetic, others with the hoch, hoch, oh, I'm losing my pronunciation skills apparently. Huhawi. And finally, you are led into a darkened bit of hall with a what appears to be um, it's I would say it's a good-sized sort of living space, very nearly stretching up to a second story level, although there are no platforms above to look out from it. It is illuminated by torchlight, which is partly surrounded by a glass which gives off a reddish hue just to reinforce the aesthetic. Uh, Other weapons are mounted on the walls, and as are the skulls of various different types of animals. There's one that seems situated over a fire pit, or rather a fireplace that seems to be roaring at present, and sitting in a seat very near there is a hulking Klingon figure that seems to be very slightly hunched, but he will rise when you enter, drawing up to his full height. And I would say of him that Tabak, he is probably a bit taller than you, possibly a little bit more even than Azik, but still not comparing to the other Gorn, the Gorn that you have, nor of course to Woe. Jagren, son of Wonaj, seems in many ways to adhere to the more fashionable style of the Huchawi, at least insofar as he seems to have opted to go for at least partial hair suppressant. Either that or he is bald, but he nonetheless carries or sports a very well-kept and long beard. And he wears a fairly fine, standard, somewhat traditional armoring, supplemented by some leather pads, and what you would guess is a fine jacket of white Mugato fur, or from some other creature. It could very easily be a very nice targ of the right coloring.
Or a bunch of tribbles, but I don't know about that yet.
Yeah. He rises up with just the most plain, bare expression of disdain as he sees the lot of you entering this room. Who are these people, and why do you bring them into my place when they barely fit? Those who barely have standing to cross into these halls. Votos puts on his most professional face and with very carefully modulated words. Governor Jagren, I have the honor to bring you the rescuers of some of our civilians. Captain Tabak of the House of Cord, and his crew who have rescued some of our people. You just get back an expression that is just still a very bored glance.
I have returned to you the people that you could not keep safe yourself.
Choose your next words carefully, Captain. I do not take insults lightly, especially when they are in my own home.
Why bring them home? There's no lie. There is no insult. I succeeded where you did not.
Now, perhaps you can tell me the story of how you came across our missing people over a meal. And with a very loud, or like a much more sort of hearty, sort of leathery slap from the, like, I'd imagine his sleeves stretch out slightly. There's a call out, bring the food! And this once again is a chance to call in yet another non-Klingon figure entering the hallway. Cheesy, you must say, how do you pronounce the first name? Is that Traven or Traven?
Craven.
All right. Traven, as you step in, you are greeted with the most interesting assortment of beings that you have seen in some months. I'm actually going to ask you to give me an insight and science here, and this is going to be a difficulty 5 roll, even with your
Oh my god.
considerable knowledge.
You said difficulty 5?
Yes, you must score 5 successes on this to have a chance at guessing at some of this. So
I'm gonna. You know what? It's not that important. I don't think I need to know this. I'm not gonna use an ability. I'm just gonna try.
okay. There is momentum in the pool if you wish to purchase dice, which I know since you are new to the system, the way that it works is that you can increase the d20s in your dice pool by spending momentum. It is 1 momentum for a third die, 2 more momentum on top of that for a fourth die, so a total of 3. And then if you had it, then you could spend up to 6 momentum to get a total of 5 d20s. And then you would just adjust that in the task roller bar. Fun fact, you can also give the GM threat to do exactly that.
I'm gonna do normal roll.
Okay.
Oh, God.
That's okay.
Okay, go for it.
All
Got
right.
2.
At 2 successes, I'm going to say that at the very least, you could easily recognize the Klingons, although it is at least you're guessing the lead person is likely a Klingon just by the natural demeanor, like the scowling demeanor that he seems to carry. There are a great many of those Klingons on this world, which had caught you by surprise when you arrived here, but well, you're kind of SOL as far as getting much more on that. The repeated refrain from the farmers is that we do not discuss this with outsiders.
Gotcha.
However, standing in the group as well, you recognize, honestly, probably the most exciting thing to you. A tall, more conventional Hemhuch, the classical Klingon warrior as they were known some decades ago, from what little information could still be pieced together about them. He is an older, balding gentleman with an old sash that likely indicates either service to a house or in the Imperial fleet. And he is also absent his right arm. There's one likely long, severed, and glorious battle. Um, on top of that, the other creatures are a bit more baffling. 2 very tall reptilians from a species you are unfamiliar with. Um, there's one feline individual or felinoid individual who is most definitely not Cation. If it weren't for how big that was, you might have guessed maybe a Kzinti, but that couldn't be possible.
They don't make them that big.
They
Yep.
don't make them that big.
Yep, and
They don't make them like they used to.
they are kept very much at arm's length back home, given their perpetual rogue nature. And bumbling among them, you see some other smaller individual. It'd be hard to guess who or what exactly that is, but whatever you can discern from them, they just seem to be fairly fearful. Uh, for the rest of you, you notice someone that appears to be somewhat humanoid. I would say, yeah, from the one immediate indication that you'd probably get is some interesting signifier. He's most certainly not Klingon, as Klingons don't seem to have the spots that he has down the side of his face and neck, partially obscured by his beard.
Can I do a check on him?
You may. What
can I
What are you
do?
wishing to do?
What kind of alien is this?
That I would call that insight and medicine.
I'm not even gonna try.
Xenobiology?
Yep.
Difficulty?
12.
Excellent.
I think I'm still going to call this a difficulty of 4, just because of how little contact the Gorn have with.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Can I buy an extra die with 1 momentum?
If nobody else
Yes,
knows.
go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Sweet.
Remember how to do this. There we go.
Thank you.
And I get a reroll because of cautious.
Oh, very good.
Let's
Ooh.
go.
Oh,
That momentum back.
Yes,
Yep.
we did.
So, Kresic, it takes a bit of time for you to run through. You know the hegemony has had some successes in previous raids against this growing alliance known as the Federation, and you've undoubtedly had exposure to some after-action reports and some medical information. There are some files you vaguely recall about crew members that might have shown up on a raid noted from some maybe 15, 20 years previous to today, an allusion to a species referred to as Trill.
All right, very good.
Yep. They aren't too terribly special from the samples that had been acquired by the then raiders. So there's not much doing for you there.
Out of character, I'd imagine it's probably highly unlikely that a joined Trill would have ended up getting taken in by the raiders. So that makes perfect sense.
Yes, they are. They're not a common bunch. But anyway, yeah.
The Federation didn't even know about the joined Trill until Next Generation.
Yep. So, Traven, as you come in with today's meal, first tell me, you notice as you're carrying this meal and you see this bunch, what would be your initial thoughts going through your head?
I think first thing I would do would be to apologize to the governor for not being prepared for other guests' dietary requirements, and if need be, I will go back and make them something that they would prefer. Like, that is my biggest thing, is disappointing the governor and Votos in front of the new people.
So long as you present your meal, servant, your work is adequate.
Of course, governor.
Yep.
I start handing out food.
Would you care to? Would you have a sense of what you might have prepared today?
I would say something. What's the temperature like?
It's pretty warm outside. Call it
Well,
somewhere in the line of well, for you, I'd say it's probably somewhere around 32, 33 centigrade.
And is the governor more upset than he usually is today? More irritated?
Yes.
I make something more meaty and filling
Hmm,
to try and calm his nerves.
spectacular. Um, so that a very I imagine very raw and large amounts of protein that are arrayed out, which suit easily the remainder of of the crew's dietary needs. Although Vopride uh, looks to the dish and um,
speak.
um, I, I I don't truly eat that much protein. I'm limited to the intake when it comes to animal meat to just simple
He is a leaf
insect.
eater. Please get him food he can eat.
Ah, I'll see if I can find some plants.
I do take. I am an entomophagist as well. I consume different sorts of insect as well. If you
Bugs,
have
leaf. Ah,
gachorakt would do fine.
We'll check
ah.
for those in the garden too.
Oh,
Should be some. I'll whip up something.
Do you have any clean water?
Of course, but wouldn't you prefer blood wine?
No.
Huh.
just deep
Water.
rumbling Gorn. Clean water.
I fetched a big thing of water.
He brings you the cleanest bucket he has.
He nods. Very excited.
A
Oh,
bucket. Brings him a
Oh
bucket. Oh
God.
my god.
yes.
Oh, can I be sitting next to the governor on the opposite side of Tabok?
Oh, you may certainly do so. I will let you place out each of your tokens in the chairs that are available.
Where? Ah,
Your tokens hopefully
sorry.
should you should hopefully have access.
Yeah, I do. I just was so zoomed in, I couldn't find where it was. Um, dang, I was hoping
Trying to
for a
find pictures.
table.
Yeah, it's back there.
Yeah,
Oh, a proper table.
this was not the ideal setup. I will. I'm going to
Okay, you
guess
know what?
that. Go ahead.
I'm too big for these chairs. I'm gonna lay on this rug.
Watch out for the spikes.
You could just see Woe like scratching her back with them.
Also, while he's talking, I need to do a sleight of hand for Kresik.
Oh dear, what are you attempting here?
Um, I will accept any bones he sucked on, any silverware, anything I can get that his mouth or anything has been on.
What's the silverware you speak of?
Ah, okay. Bones it is.
Well, I'm sure that there will definitely be bones left on the plate. For lack of a better due to the shortcomings of the image used here, I will actually roll with it and say that um, at some inconvenience to you, Traven, he has requested essentially some of the rolling tables that can be locked into place but still don't look half bad. It is kind of a bit trashy, or kind of the equivalent of a TV dinner setup in some ways, only it's just so that he can sit in front of the fire, um, and not have to move his rug.
We're not in the banquet hall.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to keep a lot of company.
Couldn't imagine why.
Yeah.
Try to get them something stable that they can like sit on their lap to eat, like a tray of some sort.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the rolling tables that you would set up, they have something that allows them to lock into place, so that,
Oh,
and possibly even like roll a tray forward or something of the sort.
Dinner's over. Make sure to put your tray table back in its upright position.
Precisely.
after I get most of them fed, I'm gonna work on Plant Eater's dish.
Yep. So we move off scene for just a brief time, whilst you go to the barrels of the barrels of gach, and you know that they're in the garden. They've got some vermiculture going on, so you could probably find some actually pretty fresh racht or gach.
Awesome.
Vermiculture. Ooh, pulling out the big words.
Yep.
That's a
I'll try and
dollar
make him
word right
a
there.
soupy broth with the vegetables and what living creatures I can find.
I gotcha. I'm going to say, just while you're working at that, give me a control and science roll, and we'll call this a difficulty of, call it a difficulty of 2, just to see how you do with the cooking for this unfamiliar species. All right. Yeah, you find that obviously these are not soups, and well, generally cooked meals of any sort are not terribly called for among your usual Klingon clientele, to be sure. But you do cook from time to time for some of the other servants in the area. Glie'dan is particularly keen on it, but you wind up managing to. You spend the next several minutes getting something going with a nice, flavorful broth, and find a way to make it serve it in a dish where the racht and gach can actually slither and swim around in it, possibly soaking up some of the flavor.
Once it's finished, I bring it out to him, set it in front. Try that. You will not be disappointed.
Oh, oh, okay. Oh, all right. And as you're serving him, Chagrin just looks with utter revulsion. I may owe you some thanks, Tabok, but having a Rantal Jegpui uh, eat in these chambers is very much pushing that design.
He is a free person and a member of my crew. Do not insult my crew.
I am merely stating fact, Captain.
Well put.
He doesn't meet your laugh.
That's okay. My laugh was not meant seriously, if that makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm. It's the usual joyful Klingon affectation type thing.
No, not really. It was as close to sarcasm as I could manage.
I gotcha. Speaks better to the intent than I do. Anyway, um, so um, tell me of how you came across my former these how you came across these farmers.
They were put into the hold of our ship on, and again, I'm an idiot. I cannot remember the name of the planet we were on.
Glie'dan II.
Otakor. I am so sorry. They were put into the hold of our ship on Wotokor. Our captain, previous captain, now quite dead, trying to sell them to Orions.
Do you make a habit of serving with such dishonorable curs?
No. And no one will make the habit of serving with him again. He's dead. Quite dead.
Oh.
Take another bite of the food. Grab a fistful of whatever is there and just shove it in my face and just stare at him while I chew noisily.
It's about the same manners he's meeting you with here.
Well, that's normal Klingon manners. So
Yes, exactly. So, continues. You came, and you came all this way to bring them back. I suppose you are at least owed some gratitude.
Where do you think I came from? That you say all this way?
No. I can imagine that wherever this dishonorable cur operated was well outside of the bounds of the Empire. Or did you perhaps note, well, I know not where this Guota Core is. It's not a world of any merit.
No, not really.
So, I would imagine then
It is a
that
ball of dirt, full of scum.
I would imagine then that you had to travel a great distance, or did you simply only did you have a ship parked closer by and only just take note of the contents of your cargo hold?
He refused to tell me what we were carrying. I investigated. What I discovered angered me, infuriated me. I killed him and took the ship. I owned half of it anyway.
Well,
But someone of such a noble house should be more aware of the stellar cartography of our empire, should he not?
I know much of the strategic worlds of the Empire, those of greater and noble houses. Your
Like
only
your own. Like your own. Oh, wait. You have no house. My apologies.
There's a slight crunch of a bit of bone on in his grasp. You you try my patience, Captain. Perhaps it is best you leave this world and be seen off before your welcome is exhausted.
My ship needs repairs, restocking. I look for more crew. As you can see, I am not the most discerning as to where I get my crew.
No, I did not think you one of great standards, Captain.
Oh, my standards are high. I have only the best in my crew. I just care not for their origins. If they prove themselves worthy, they are worthy.
Ezek will chime in his food half, or his mouth half full of bite of food. Oh yeah. Oh, they're all really pretty good at what they do. You know, they could be a great serving crew, great asset to the Empire. They're great, he says, gesturing with the leg of some creature and in his left arm. Well, your standards. I will reserve my judgment until I see some cause for them to do so, but certainly if you look for more of the dregs, then maybe you might find some here.
I never once said dregs.
Kresic pipes up. Dreg. Wasn't that the name of that pirate whose throat I ripped out?
Probably.
I think it was Greg, wasn't it? What's his
No,
name?
that was the one whose testicles you smashed.
Ah, yes, thank you for reminding me. That was a fun day.
Oh, those poor Nausicaans. Everybody has long since forgotten their names.
Kresic is fully leaning into if this captain wants him to think that he's a mindless animal, he's going to play that.
Never said that, but okay, let's go for it.
No, the governor. The governor.
Oh, the governor. Okay.
The governor. No, if the governor is wanting to think that about him, he's going to play that.
Go for it. That's funny.
Yeah, fucking Raldo's just trying to enjoy a decent meal for once.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm taking full. Oh look, Pippius claw. Braggot lung. Oh god, thank you. Yeah, just eating everything I can get shoved down my gullet before I get kicked out of this guy's house.
Hot tag.
Oh, heart of Targ. Yeah.
Yes. Traven wheels out a veritable feast as this humanoid servant of the doctor's. As you were going, do you wish to engage with any of the crew here, Traven?
Well, I will definitely make sure to avoid the cat lady who's ripping out testicles. For sure.
Oh, come
No,
on.
not ripping out, squashing.
Yes, exploding.
No, I
actually,
know. Is anybody doing anything at the table other than conversating?
Eating, threatening, posturing, insulting.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we've been doing.
Tabak.
I'm eyeballing you.
Don't worry, she eyeballs everybody.
she unballs them, not eyeballs them.
No.
Both actually. She does both.
Oh,
They are not. They are
God.
not mutually exclusive activities.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
I think I'm gonna engage with Tabak, the captain. And I was just wondering if this appeased your appetite.
Oh yes, this food is wonderful. It is
Excellent.
delicious. It is delicious.
I take pride in my work. This is
Good.
what I live for.
Good. Would you like to live for this on my ship?
I immediately turn to the governor.
He looks
That is
markedly more grouchy about this.
that is
Trying to
not.
You are trying to steal the handful of decent help in my own home.
Who said anything about stealing? Do you own him?
He is in servitude in my residence.
Do you own him? Is he free?
What conquered peoples are free here?
Wo's
He
like
is.
calculating how heavy he is and how fast he can grab him.
I point to Vopri. He is.
Sign of the exceptions to the rule. Votos is going to come up. Captain Tabok, our chef here, does not presently have the papers required for travel. If that were something that you were seeking, then, well, arrangements could be made. It would, of course, require the governor's blessing. And he inflects.
I just turn and sort of look at the governor and stare at him expectantly.
And what captain do you expect from me?
Him.
For the first time, he starts to crack a bit of a smile. It's barely existent, but the hints of it are there. You come to my house and lay insults at my feet, bringing your menagerie here, and you expect in some gratitude for a pitiable bunch of farmers that I should give up what few useful things on this planet there are. I am not surprised you did not take notice of the passengers. I'm frankly surprised you have any cognitive function at all. He says, standing up. You there, servant.
Yes, Governor.
Take the remainder of the meal. Feed it to the togs. My appetite is gone.
But ours is not, and you would deny your guests food? How rude do you think you are?
No, my manners, all that, what manners I display here are all you deserve. And with that, he's just going to about face and make his way out of the hall.
And as he's walking away, I just break out into laughter. Bring me more food.
Turn to look at my advisor.
Votos gives you a look that very much says, I can only protect you so far.
I'm sorry, my lord has advised me not to do that.
Woe stands up and kind of cracks her neck with her plate long since cleared and says, why don't you show me where you keep the food, and I'll get it myself.
And well,
I don't...
Draven, he says, with a very rare use of your name, if some of our honored guests deserve wish for a tour, then I see no reason to object to that. Further, the governor's tray will certainly take some time to clean properly. You can see to those tasks before you come back to take their meals, or whatever remains of the others' meals.
That sounds applicable to me.
He gives a knowing nod and says, "Well then, show the Kazin their way around."
Of course. Kitchen first,
I
correct?
smile and nod graciously. Yes, kitchen first, please.
Whoa, do you have a bag big enough?
Well, I've got a stomach big enough.
Find a sack along your way.
Can do, Captain.
Break the doors.
No. God.
That's a given, my friend. And she kicks open the door in front of, and then does like an after you motion.
Votos looks to you, Tabak. Captain,
Votos.
show disrespect as much as you wish to take your life into your own hands around the governor as you wish. But I must implore you, as one who has lived here far longer and served this place far longer, do not let any of your Hadebach break down this manor.
Why do you serve that Patak?
Because I am loyal to my house, and they deemed him as the one best fit to lead here. It is the only option.
His failures are manifest.
His failures may not be all his doing if there is another scheme at work here.
His failures are his own.
I wonder about that. Captain, you should know that before you came here, he issued a very public complaint to those in House Kruk. He has for some time been seeking to improve the security of the planet's defense grid and even seek ships to patrol the area with as many mysterious raiders as we have had. In spite of our best efforts, the help has never come, and House Karuk seems to have left these calls unanswered. His complaint, though done rashly, I believe that first that it was done publicly enough that others will have taken notice. I wonder whether there are some seeking to subvert him.
Supplant him? Make him look bad? Take his place?
Potentially. If one within the house somewhere were to approach here after so many failures, they could justify to the house to displace him. If another house caught wind of this, then they may challenge House Kruk's control over the planet altogether. Glie'dan II could become a battlefield.
Who runs House Karuk? Romulans?
No,
Klingons do not behave this way.
I know, and that is what troubles me.
What,
But
Mr. GM? What do I know about? Do I know anything at all about this house?
I'm going to say that you very likely don't. This is a fairly minor house that you've not heard of before. They might have a few holdings, but they're probably one of the smaller supporting houses that is they are knights in service to another house, or like if you imagine the knights, lords, and king sort of set up with a traditional feudalism. This is a minor house whose undoubtedly their power is greater than your own houses.
Yeah.
This is very much a strong. Well, it's still a minor house, you would guess. They're not a great one, to be sure.
Okay. Well, obviously, there are a lot more minor houses than there are great houses.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything at all about these people. Okay.
And you guys can always ask Votos about it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to. What can you tell me of this house? Aside from it appears to be slightly askew.
House Karuk is a modestly strong house. One of the intendants to some of the very old houses of the age. I pause for a moment while the GM recalls his history here. Better yet, pulls up a document for it. It is mostly oriented as a warrior house with some minor holdings. In addition to Glie'dan II, there are a handful of other worlds outside of its main colony, which in itself it shares lands with several others, though none. It doesn't warrant any place on the home world.
But it controls this planet outright.
That it does. This is a major source of wealth for the planet.
Grain?
Or rather for the house. Yes, mostly that. Some care for animals that are also exported by and large for protein sources to others. Our primary benefactor's house is the House of Tokal. Very old traditionalist house.
Tokal?
Yes.
Do I know anything about these guys? Is this just another minor house, or is this a...
Give me one more reason and command, and I'm going to set. You will know something of them, but for a full assessment, I'm going to say the difficulty of this would actually go up to 4.
Oh god, reason and command, huh?
Yep.
Anybody mind if I use a couple of oh, hold on a minute. If I use a couple of momentum here.
Go for
We
it.
have extra.
There we go. So that's gonna be 2 more dice.
Okay.
So 4 dice. I don't believe any of my foci are going to work here unless Orion Business Practices kicks in.
Nope.
Well, I was only hoping. Alright. See how badly the dice gods hate me.
Well, that is 4 successes. So what you know of House Tokal, they are probably one of the oldest of the great houses, actually, and they have a great many in their. They have a great many minor houses in their, or within their sort of influence, or in sort of not servitude, but basically they play patron to a great many of the houses. They were long known for, well, they were long known for being an exceptional power base within the Empire, although they've had some falling out with over the past century. Apparently, a few gambles didn't quite pay off in a certain way, or there were a few setbacks as pertains to some members of their house previously. They also supposedly have been most spared by the Kuvat virus, but a large number of their client worlds, as this one clearly demonstrates, were afflicted. So it's uncertain as to how much they've been. It's uncertain how much they were truly afflicted. Um, this is probably a little bit beyond your recollection, but there was a time in that last century where they had gone by a different name, but it's been out of use long enough, particularly after some of the shame some of their members endured, that they haven't used it for some time. While that escapes you, they also generally just are keeping a very low profile, preferring to be a behind-the-scenes player, or at least one that works to strengthen their own house and very subtly influence decisions in the Empire. Such, of course, that there is any central strength to them.
Do they have any connections to the word I'm looking for? The fanatics out on the edges?
They, as far as you know, are not. They're more. They are so traditionalist. They are one of the few houses that very publicly keeps a Hemhuch representative, as opposed to the more stylish Huchawi. So they actually have a more traditional looking Klingon, TNG era Klingon, basically, as opposed
Mm.
to the Discovery variants.
Okay.
It's a point of pride for them.
Point of pride to keep that as their face. Gotcha.
Yes,
So they have a seat on the council?
they do.
Okay. Means they probably have lands on Kronos,
Oh yes,
as well
they're
as other fiefdoms.
yep, yep.
But they've taken a hit in their fortunes.
More so some prestige. There were issues in the past century, particularly involving some run-ins outside the Empire with some of the up-and-coming powers of the era that kind of gave them some headaches. They've kept a pretty low profile since then, although they did have some ships that participated in the 4 Years' War. All so far as at least Raldar might know, or if it were brought up, he would know that they met with minimal loss and some success. They did engage in some fair-sized battles for the fleets that they provided.
Okay. All right. Back to the conversation then with Votos.
It could be. It could be a play by others to perhaps undermine us in the face of our patrons, or even if it were of sufficient significance, one to slowly chip away at them. But I do not know that anyone would attempt so brazen a move, or rather have such brazen intentions while moving in such a small manner. I would guess it to be a slower erosion of power.
What kinds of ships are in service to House Takal?
Their house is a very wealthy one and very well equipped one. I believe they even they are probably among the few that, in addition to the full array of birds of prey, cruisers, I suspect that they even carry one of the few cleave ships still in service, as well as one or two of the dreadnought vessels.
Do they partake in this gaudy ostentation of their vessels?
What great houses do not? And which of them can afford not to?
I do not like this man, but I mean no insult to you or to your house. I find him foolish and pompous, and a failure.
He hesitates for a moment. Well, much can be said of, much indeed could be said of the governor, but it is not my place to do so.
As you say. I have a request that I hope you could help me with, because helping me may help you. What sensor logs do you have from when people were taken?
There may be some equipment deeper in the bowels of the manor that you could investigate.
What about traffic control?
That would be operated out of the landing platform area. There's a small fortified area where that could be investigated. We do also have several perimeter sensors and communication arrays.
Are they in orbit?
No, they are mostly localized on planetary surfaces. There are some satellites that there's a limited satellite network, but we mostly only have perimeter sensors. We have not had much in the way of resources to fully upgrade our infrastructure.
I ask this to gain access to this data so that we can examine it and perhaps glean information as to who is doing this. Would you be cooperative as far as you can?
He very slightly moves his. He very slightly glances off to his right with his one good eye before making contact with you again. You have helped us, even if that help came late to potentially forestall the rash actions of my lord here, but these answers may provide a more permanent solution and maybe, just maybe, give us a way forward. I will permit this, so long as you do so quietly and without without pushing more insults than are absolutely necessary.
No more than are necessary.
And by
I
all,
tested him. I know.
then Captain Tabok, he holds out a hand. We should have an accord.
Take his forearm. There we go. Aha.
Yep. He will meet your clasp and shake on it, and with that, you now have your next mission and directives to help learn the fate of this devious subversion of Glie'dan II and learn the nature of who is subverting the colony. And you'll learn more about that next time.
Dun,
When
dun, dun.
yes, when we come back for another session of Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword. For those watching the YouTube archive, this is where we're going to cut it for now. So I hope that you all enjoy, and if you're enjoying following this, drop a like, give a comment for any feedback you have, and be sure to hit the roughly bell-shaped icon that says subscribe, or just hit subscribe. I trust my audience to be able to do better than grasping simple symbology. So, my audience is smart, damn it. Anyway,
Yes, of course they are. They're listening to us.
yes,
They're,
smart,
they're definitely smarter than the players.
and so handsome. There's a Star Trek Online poll for you.
Oh
Anyway,
my
have a good one for those of you in the archive.